In this video, we'll be talking about the city of Austin in perhaps a more transparent and candid way than you might be accustomed to. Talking about how the crime might be increasing, how the cost of living is increasing, how the evolution of the culture is changing, and so much more. So if that is the reason you clicked on this video, stay tuned because we're getting after it right now. Hello again, everybody. If this is your first time to the channel, my name is Frank, and I'm part of a team of agents at the award-winning J. B. Goodwin Brokerage right here in the ever-evolving Austin, Texas. Each and every week, we put out tons of new content, all in regards to living in Austin, Texas, whether it be pros and cons, vlog tours of certain areas and suburbs, comparisons of cities and states, and so much more. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing to this channel and ringing that little bell so that you're notified each and every time we put out a new video. In addition to that, we get reach outs all the time from people just like you who are in need of our help when relocating to this great city of Austin, Texas. We are learning about your lifestyle and placing you in that perfect spot, making your move as smooth as possible. But the only way we can do that is by you reaching out to us. So do not hesitate. Whether you're 9 days away or 90, go ahead and send us a text, shoot us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day. So let's get right to it and talk about some of the things, 5 to be exact, that you might want to know if you're considering moving not only to Texas, but even more specifically, the city of Austin within Texas. And I find this especially important if you perhaps are coming from out of state, which naturally a majority of the people we help are. The truth of the matter is Texas and Austin specifically is rapidly changing. It's rapidly evolving. And to keep it real with you guys, I've lived in Austin most of my life. I was born once upon a time in Houston, specifically Clear Lake, and I moved here with my family when I was just about 3 years old. So it's been most of my life, but I bring that up because for a brief stint in my life, I lived in the city of Los Angeles, the West Coast in California, more specifically Pasadena, for just over a year. And I feel in life it's true of all of us that we never know what we don't know. So having lived in the same place for so long, I thought everything that was unique and normal about Texas was the same everywhere. The whole cliche of whenever you leave your hometown, you broaden your horizons and all that good stuff. And there were things about Los Angeles, which I understand does not completely represent the state of California, but at least as far as the city goes, there were things about Los Angeles that I really did like more than Austin, Texas, and there were a ton of things that I didn't. But I bring this up because whenever I eventually, inevitably, came home to Austin, Texas after that year and change in California, I really began to observe the things that even changed rapidly in the 1 year I was gone, and the things that I perhaps took for granted, and also the things that perhaps are getting worse and worse and worse. So while yes, I acknowledge that I am pretty much a native local, on the other hand, I do try to maintain objectivity, and I do have a bit of a radar for things that could be better, imperfections, and furthermore, perhaps what is beginning to really change. You know, there is a lot of pride in Texas. You know, it's very patriotic. There's a lot of soul here, and people in Texas more or less are happy to be in Texas. But personally speaking, I've never been one to necessarily let my love or pride for it blind me, you know, or to have rose-colored glasses on to where all the red flags are just flags. So that's what I'd like to share with you. You know, when you're making such a big change in your life, such as a move out of state to be more specific, you really want to know what you're getting yourself into. It's a very stressful decision. It's a very expensive decision. It's a very overwhelming decision. And I don't mean to necessarily call out or even attack other YouTube channels that do what I do and also help people, but I have noticed a lot of them like to focus on the good. A lot of them like to sugarcoat things for whatever the reason may be. And it might be my generation, or it might just be me personally, but a lot of it I can find a little bit gross sometimes. And I do feel, as I mentioned, in a situation like this, blunt, brutal honesty, as perhaps deflating or disenchanting as it might be, is the most valuable thing I can provide for you. So with all that out of the way, I do have my list here that I'm going to be referring to of just things I've observed. I am a bit of a lists person. And if you're a longtime subscriber to the channel, surely you've seen the pros and cons videos we've done. You've seen what nobody will tell you about Austin, Texas videos we've done, reasons to avoid it. But if you are new to the channel and this is one of your very first videos, I do encourage that you check those out as well, either before this one or perhaps after, simply because what we'll be talking about in this video will either build upon things I've already mentioned or it will be fresh takes and things I've never mentioned before. So be sure to stick around until the end so that we've done the very best we can to help you arrive at your own conclusion and form your own opinion. Now, for starters, I would like to talk about just how expensive the city of Austin is becoming. Obviously, it's going to be drastically different than perhaps it was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, but even 5 years ago. With the city of Austin being such a hotspot in the entire country for relocation, and with the real estate market in the country being what it is right now, we are seeing such a rapid appreciation. And while it is true what I've said in previous videos or what other channels who do what I do have said in their previous videos, that the state of Texas, regardless of which city you choose, is going to be great bang for your buck, it is also true that that is beginning to change, and in Austin's case more specifically, it is changing drastically. Can $350,000, $450,000, $550,000 still buy you a relatively newer home with 3 or 4 bedrooms near a golf course with a pool, maybe a theater room, the best schools, all of that? Yes, it can. That is going to be a breath of fresh air, especially for those of you who are coming from the New Yorks of the world, the Californias, the Oregons, the Washingtons. But as it currently stands, if you're looking at the major cities in Texas, Austin is more expensive than Dallas, Austin is more expensive than Houston, and Austin is more expensive than San Antonio. I remember when I first got into real estate just a few years back, the average median home price in the totality of Austin, Texas, weighing the downtown area was still in the mid 400s, less than $500,000. And as it currently stands right now, it is just over $600,000 in a matter of no time. The good news, however, is that when you do leave the downtown metro area, that median home price does significantly drop because, as we all know, real estate in a downtown market is going to be remarkably expensive. So yes, if you're looking in Manor, if you're looking in Round Rock, Pflugerville, Georgetown, Leander, Cedar Park, all of these places, it is going to be closer to $450,000, maybe $500,000, but even still, that is perhaps more expensive than you might think. You might be coming to Austin thinking, oh, the average price in any given suburban neighborhood is going to be $300,000, $350,000, and that's probably true in the case of either Manor or Hutto. It'll be closer to that, but most of these other suburbs that really have developed and established themselves are already on the rise too. So do you still get bang for your buck in Texas? Absolutely. And to an extent, do you still get bang for your buck in Austin? Of course, because you might be spending $500,000 to live in a tiny townhome in Portland, right? So that is still true. I'm just wanting to stress to you that Austin, many would claim it's not even that affordable anymore, and it's only going to get worse. All right, next up on my list, I would like to talk about the subject of crime. And before I get into it, I would like to stress that the state of Texas is still going to be safe. The city of Austin is still going to be safe. That is why a lot of people, in addition to perhaps state income tax or the affordability relative, in addition to all of that, it is going to be a safer place for you and for your family with great school districts, so on and so forth. But having said that, I will be brutally honest and I will be consistent. In just the past year, as of the making of this video, it is mid-September of 2021, just in the past year alone, murders have gone up dramatically. Car thefts have gone up dramatically. Aggravated assaults have gone up dramatically. In this case, I am speaking a little bit more specifically to the city, not so much the suburbs, because naturally with suburbs you get inherently more safety. But even still, these statistics do measure everything in its totality, and Of course, in any place you live, you're going to see a fluctuation of statistics for crime and safety, yes, but what is really alarming people is how drastically these numbers have increased year to date. Now, why is this happening? It's not necessarily for me to say. Some schools of thought really point the finger at defunding the police. I'm not going to chime in on that, but that is a strong argument why. The other school of thought is it's a natural evolution of a city that is seeing such an influx of people all the time due to it being such a hotspot for relocation. In addition to that, we are also seeing a rapid increase of homelessness. A lot of people have been complaining about seeing tents now everywhere, especially on medians around the highway, people camping out. And I've even noticed, because I choose not to live in the city, I choose to live a bit north of the city so that I can dabble if I want, but I'm not stuck there. Even where I live in North Austin, we're starting to see tents where I didn't used to see tents. So all of that, in addition to the crime, is it because of the politics? Is it because of defunding the police? Is it because of the influx of people? I don't claim to be an expert on any of these things, which is why I won't try and pretend I have the answers. But truth of the matter is, these are increasing conversations among local Austinites that I feel you have the right to know if you're considering a move here. Now, very quickly, before we move on, let us know what your opinions are, what your questions are, what do you agree with, what do you disagree with? Drop them all down below in the comments. We'd love to get involved with you guys. In addition to that, if we are providing some value for you in this video, we ask that you consider liking the video as well, as it really helps our channel grow. Be sure to subscribe, of course, and lastly, if there's anyone in your life who you know is considering a move to Austin, Texas, and would like to learn more, go ahead and share our content with them and spread the good word. So next on the list, I wrote down least Texan, and what I mean by that is really Austin's culture more specifically and in relation to Texas's culture. If you've heard all the great things about Texas that I have talked about in the past and other channels have surely talked about as well, about Texas being very warm and friendly and kind, people holding the door open for you, tremendous service in restaurants and other places you go to take care of your business, kind drivers on the road who will let you merge, who won't cut you off, who will tip their hat, respect and manners, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, walking your dog and people stopping you to wave and say hi or invite you to their garage party or their backyard barbecue cookout. All of these things are great and they are true. It's not just some stereotype, it's not just some shtick or cliche. We've heard it in our comments and we've heard it from people who've called us, we've heard it from clients we've helped close, and they all tell us it's a very real thing, especially if you're coming from perhaps the Northeast or a place like Los Angeles or New York. We've heard that not only is it true, but it can be a bit jarring. It can make some people feel uncomfortable, but a majority of the time it is a welcome surprise for anyone who moves to the great state of Texas. Now, while that all is true and it is something you can look forward to, I will again keep it consistent and tell you that if you are considering moving to the downtown metro area, those same things I just mentioned that make Texas so great, regardless of where you are in it, are going to be true, but to a much lesser extent. I recently spoke with a gentleman from New York City who is here, and he was telling me that it's not necessarily as tight-knit as he thought it would be. There's not really a sense of community the way he thought there would be, a sense of warmth. So naturally, I asked him, which part of Austin do you live? And he said, I'm close to downtown. And the reason that is the case is because with Austin being such a hotspot, as I've mentioned, for relocation, you are getting transplants from everywhere. And when you're getting a bunch of people from all over the place, many of them young, many of them touristy, some of them pretentious, all of a sudden, and naturally, you find yourself with a population and a community of people who are estranged, who are not really ingrained in the Southern culture. And that's just the truth of the matter of Austin, Texas. Having lived in Los Angeles, I would never compare anything to Los Angeles, for better and worse. But with a grain of salt, I do say that Austin is kind of like a mini LA. It is the California of Texas. Not literally, no, not really dramatically, but that's the best way I can articulate it for you to understand. Dallas, Houston, or San Antonio are places that are going to feel much more enriched with community, with professional sports teams, with support, with festivals and fiestas. Whereas Austin, even though it does have a strong artistic spirit, even though it has a strong eclectic spirit with yoga, with hiking, with crystal shops, with long beards and IPAs and avocado on toast, with music festivals, with comedy theaters, all of that good stuff. In my opinion, having lived elsewhere and having traveled to many places, and of course having lived in the state of Texas my whole life, having been to all of the cities in Texas a number of times, I will say that about Austin. It just lacks that certain spirit, that certain community, and that certain warmth. The good news, however, is that I am speaking more specifically to that downtown metro area, or even perhaps the tech corridor of Austin, where a lot of people are relocating for jobs at Apple or Dell or IBM, Facebook, Google, all of these different jobs. So yes, the good news is whenever you leave downtown or you leave the tech corridor and you go to Cedar Park, and you go to Round Rock, you go to Georgetown, you go to Leander, you go to Pflugerville, all of a sudden, when you escape the city, the pendulum swings back to just being Texan. So that's when you will meet all of the people I mentioned that are very kind, warm, gracious, welcoming. And that is one of the reasons I like living outside of the city, because once you leave Austin, you are in Texas, if that makes sense. You feel more Texan when you're removed from the city. I don't mean to be redundant, I don't mean to repeat myself, I'm just struggling to find better ways to simply articulate what I'm trying to convey. So if you want all the things that come with being a Texan and being embraced in Texas, you can find it in the greater Austin area, absolutely, but if you're looking to be closer to the city, I'm not saying everyone's a jerk, but as far as that Southern culture, you might be out of luck and it might be wrong for you. Next on this list, I'm going to talk about the weather, and I shit you not, on this channel I have talked about the weather so many times it might as well be just engraved in the psyche of my brain. So why do I bring it up when you can just watch any of my other videos and surely hear me talk about it, or even watch the 40+ minute video we made directly talking about Austin, Texas summers and what you can expect? I still bring it up because this year was actually pretty different, and I thank my lucky stars because I am someone who does not tolerate heat very well. Truth of the matter is, yes, absolutely, it is a real thing. The heat here is horrific. And I'm not saying that Denver, Colorado doesn't get its triple-digit weather sometimes. I'm not saying even Los Angeles, when I lived there, got its triple-digit weather sometimes, but to get triple-digit weather in the South feels very different, and it lasts considerably longer. And most of what I've said in the past in our videos is that, and it's true, between end of May through early September or even late September, you will find consecutive triple-digit weather, and it feels like opening an oven when you're baking cookies and the heat just slaps you, or you go outside and your skin's tingling, or you open your car and you can see this mirage exit your car and you have to start it and let the car ventilate before you even dare get in it unless you're a masochist. Increased water bills, increased electric bills, wanting to stay inside all the time. All of these things have been very, very true. However, this year, surprisingly, it's been not amazing, but it's been quite a breath of fresh air. I am so used to the summers being my least favorite time of year because, as mentioned, I mean, if it goes above 75, I just perspire. That's how I'm wired. I wish I was different, but I'm not. So I'm prepared for that. I spend time psyching myself out to just get through it, and to endure triple digits in June, July, and August. But this year, as of the making of this video, it is mid to late September. I can only recall maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 days max in the whole summer that we saw 3 digits on our weather apps. Yes, we had plenty of 90s, and 90s in Texas are still going to feel like 105, 110. Of course, it's not pleasant, but it's different when it's triple digits because then it feels like it's 120, right? So that has been nice. I don't know, I don't claim to be a meteorologist. I don't know if it's going to be that way for years to come, but this year it was actually quite nice. And even last year in 2020, in September, by the last week of September, we were still enduring crippling triple-digit weather to where by the time Halloween came in October, it was like 85 degrees when kids were trick-or-treating in the evening. Last year was ridiculous. But now it's the 3rd week of September, give or take, and I look on my weather app and I see 80s. I see highs of 88, highs of 85, highs of 86, with some 90s sprinkled in. I think today the high was 95 or something like that, but it's coming much sooner this year than it did last year. And the best part is when you look at the lows for the nighttime, I see 59, I see 65, I see 69, I see 71, I see 55, which for me is amazing because that means I can sleep with my windows open and forget about having done that the rest of summer, because at nights it's still like 88 and muggy, or 85. It's not a pleasant way to sleep. I'm someone who needs an ice cold room, and then I just get my thick comforter on top. So I'm not sure how significant the weather is for you. For some of the clients we've helped, it actually is a huge deal. For other clients we've helped, they couldn't care less. So I realize I'm not speaking to everyone watching this who might feel concerned, but for those of you who do care and you're a bit like me, good news. You know, this year was significantly less harsh and was much more durable. So hopefully it stays true for next year. All right, next I'm going to touch on a subject I haven't touched on in quite a long time, but damn it, an ant woke me up today, so I'm going to talk about bugs. And again, for some of you, you might not give a damn. For others, oh my God, bugs, right? So, I mean, if you're coming from whatever state and you're not used to it, let me tell you outright, Texas, not just Austin, Texas is going to have an abundance of bugs. And because of the climate that I just discussed, more specifically, at least in the summertime, you will see an abundance of mosquitoes, an abundance of ants, and an abundance of spiders. Kid you not, just the other night, I saw the most devious looking spider. I believe it was a black widow. And I have a grudge against black widows because once upon a time, when my mother was in the womb, before she was born, her mother was bitten by a black widow spider, and it affected my mom in the womb to the point where she was born with a severe hearing loss, and to this day she is partially deaf, all because of that damn spider. So I see it where I live, just having the audacity to walk around. Wasn't the first time, and it surely won't be the last time I see one. And it just reminded me that, you know, we have those things here. They're normal, no matter what extremes you go to, pest control, different sprays you buy, traps you buy, they will still manage to get into either your apartment or get into your house. And for the record, you know, I try not personally to kill if I can at least safely remove it, right? My rule is if it's a mosquito, I will be the first to kill that sucker. I have no empathy, I have no compassion for mosquitoes. It's something I need to work on, and it's a bit hypocritical. But when it comes to bees, wasps, hornets, all of which you'll find here, and even spiders, I do my best to maybe get it on a napkin, get it on a plate, flick it outside, you know, go to all the lengths that I possibly can before I have to resort to potentially killing it. And in the case of the spider, I tried and I tried and I tried to get it on the napkin. I tried to just direct it with my shoe, maybe intimidate it into moving in a direction where I can get it out the door, but it wouldn't budge, and I worried about my dog, I worried about myself, and I ultimately ended up squashing the thing. So for those of you who love spiders, I do apologize, but what it's done for me and my family, not a chance. I just couldn't get it outside. Kid you not, less than a week later, I see another nasty looking sucker. Thankfully, this time right by my back door near my back patio. And thankfully, I could get it on a napkin. It was terrifying, kid you not, certainly terrifying, but I managed to save that one's life, if anything. So if you believe in karma, I balanced it out, I canceled it out, so we're good. But aside from spiders, I mean, the other day I made the mistake of absentmindedly leaving the bag of dog treats for my dog. I get him this healthy chicken, jerky, whatever. I left that bag not completely closed in my pantry. Kid you not, next morning I come to give him a treat. I grab the bag full of ants, all over the outside of the bag, all over the inside of the bag, and they had spread to other objects in my pantry. Sometimes I'll see them at my sink. Sometimes I'll go outside to get in my cart and I see lines of them just doing what they do in my back patio, marching everywhere. I mean, ants at this time of year are so invasive. And yes, I woke up this morning to the feeling, the pain of an ant bite on my back in bed. I mean, is nothing sacred anymore to where they can just be chilling on my pillows and I'm none the wiser until they get me. Or I could even be in my living room enjoying a night of mindless Netflix watching, and I'll feel an ant on my arm and kill it. These things have some cojones, you know what I mean? I try not to kill. If you're not bothering me, I won't bother you, but when you get on me, self-defense, right? I mean, so it's just something I want to relay to you, that if you go to extremes and you buy traps and sprays and you pay the guy to come once a month and do this, you will absolutely minimize it, yes, but cancel it, eradicate it, probably not. Lastly, I'll talk about mosquitoes, and this is really going to just be late May through September, where if you leave your back door open too long, one will come in, if not 5. Same with your front door, or even if, perhaps your windows don't have screens, I would just beware. I am someone who now carries Really Gel, this ointment, all the time. I have one by my TV, I have one by my bed, because it's preventative. I essentially just know I'm going to get a mosquito bite at least once a day, sometimes way more. And that's just the reality of living in the South, especially when it's that time of year where the climate is hot and humid. Now, the bright side to this is that sometimes you do have very welcome nature. I'm someone who likes to enjoy my back patio, and where I live, it's not really the city, as I mentioned, so I get a good view of the stars. I have a beautiful corgi who I adore, and he comes out with me, and I'll play my old music from the 60s or the 70s, and I'll enjoy just the nighttime atmosphere. I find it very relaxing. Sometimes I'll read, sometimes I'll just scroll on my phone, whatever it might be. But when I'm out there, I look around the patio and I see these geckos or these lizards, a bunch of them. And those, for some people, they might get freaked out by those, but for me, they're non-threatening. And a lot of them are very pretty to look at, and they just like to chill and hang out, almost as if it's decor for my back patio. And in addition to that, I have this hanging plant. It's hard to articulate it or put into words, but I hang this cage, and it has this plant that I water at times, and all of a sudden a bird started building a nest in this hanging plant cage thing. The name of it escapes me. And for the longest time, for weeks if not months, the nest grew, and then the bird gave birth to other little baby birds. So I go out there and they're just hanging, they're just chilling with the lizards in the nighttime sky, a whole family of them. So in that respect, the nature can be very welcoming, very pretty, but yes, you do ultimately have to take the good with the bad. So yeah, whether it's the bugs, whether it's the weather, whether it's the culture, whether it's the crime, whether it's the affordability, I don't mean to disenchant you, I don't mean to dissuade you, I don't mean to talk poorly on Austin. I do love my city, I love my state. Obviously, this channel is called Living in Austin, Texas, so it's not all bad, but I'd be remiss if I didn't just give it to you straight and tell you some of the things I feel you might want to know. Obviously, I did come back from Los Angeles, and I came back for a reason. This is my home, and I'm happy here for better and worse, but that might not be you. Maybe the things I mentioned just don't check any of your boxes, or maybe you're someone who is set on Austin and you can take the good with the bad, and maybe it's just a matter of where in the greater Austin area you'd like to live. And that is what we're here for. That is what we pride ourselves in doing, is talking to you, getting to know you, learning about what your needs are, what your lifestyle is, and placing you in that perfect place, making your move as smooth as possible. But again, yeah, the only way we can do that for you is by you reaching out to us. So do not hesitate. 9 days away or 90, shoot us that text, send us that email, give us that call. Any day of the week, any time of day, we'd love to help you out. And again, each and every week, we do put out tons of new content, all in regards to living in Austin, Texas, the good and the bad. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and ringing that little bell so that you're notified each and every time we do a new video. Consider liking this video as well if we've provided some value for you. It really helps our channel grow. Comment down below with any opinions, agreements, disagreements, questions for us. We'd love to get involved with you guys. And of course, if there's anyone in your life who you know is considering a move to Austin and would like to learn more, the good and the bad, go ahead and share our content with them and spread the good word. So until the next one, you guys, my name is Frank. This is Living in Austin, Texas, and we will absolutely catch you later.